Hi, welcome to Increasing Student Engagement in Computer Science by MindSpark Learning. Today we are going to be looking at ways to engage students in computer science education, especially with a focus on in a remote environment. If you can't hear right now, I'm going to leave this slide up for a moment, but if you're having any trouble hearing, just be sure that you check your microphone and make sure your speakers are selected. We do have help here to support you guys if you're having any issues at all. There is sometimes that we're going to be in breakout rooms, and we will be utilizing the chat throughout our little online institute here. So I just have these icons highlighted for you down here for some Zoom etiquette. Go ahead and open your chat. We are going to be posting links in there for activities. So you're going to want to have that chat open, and also in case you need any help. Everybody's automatically muted, but at the end we will have time for question and answers. We do have a rather small group here today, so there might be time where we can unmute and ask questions during our workshop. And then if you're having any troubles with your internet or it's breaking up, try turning your video off, but we do love to see y'all's videos on so that way we can just make connections and see your faces. A little background about MindSpark. We are a nonprofit driven by the belief that the most impactful path to evolving education is through educators. So we really appreciate you guys being here today. My name's Jackie Reed. I am the Director of Computer Science Education and the Code.org Program Manager. Here's my email address and my Twitter. If you guys ever want to tweet out things you're doing, I love to see what's going on in the classroom with computer science. And if you guys also have any questions, you can always send me an email. So I'm here to help. I do want to know what involvement you all have with computer science. I'm excited to see all of you here today. So I'm curious, what kind of teacher are you? Are you an elementary, middle school, high school teacher? And what do you teach? So do you teach computer science? Do you teach a content area subject like fourth grade or math? So for those of you joining us, if you could enter in the chat what you teach, what content you teach, and what grade level you teach. I'm just curious who we have here. And this is going to help me too as we move along the workshop with some different ideas and different ways you all can utilize this information. So please just go ahead and let me know what you teach and what grade in the chat, and I'm going to keep my eye out for that. I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds to enter that in the chat before we move on. Okay, I'm starting to see some comments in the chat. So thank you guys so much. That really just helps me know if there's anything I can tailor just to help you come up with plans and ideas for bringing computer science to your students. All right, so looks like we have a variety from those of you that have entered so far, K through 12, and just a variety of other offerings. You guys, so that's great. I'm so glad to have all of you here. We will be sending out a recording of today's session, so that's great. So if there's anything you want to dive into or any piece of information that you want to go over again, you will get a recording, as well as some links and resources that we're going to use today. We'll send all of that out in a follow-up email. So as we get started, during COVID-19, teaching might have had you feeling like this picture that you see on your screen. COVID-19 may have had you feeling like this with all of the changes and all of the unknown, and trying to plan in the unknown when things are actively changing is very difficult and hard. So this might have been what you've been feeling like since spring break, around spring break. However, I want us to think about why we became teachers in the first place. I love going back to that why. Why did you become a teacher? And so before we get there, we are first going to find, I kind of moved ahead a little too soon there, but one of my colleagues did this activity with us and I thought it was pretty fun, so I hope you guys enjoy this. But you're going to look for a god or a character that somehow relates to you or somehow explains a part of something you value, in some way, find a character that relates to who you are as a person. And to do that, you're going to click on the link that's in the chat. It says Smite Game Activity. You're going to click on that link. You might need to copy that link and paste it in your browser because sometimes Zoom is really wonky with the new privacy settings. So either copy and paste that link or click on it. And then we're going to take 5 minutes because there's a lot of information on this webpage. But I want you to browse the gods and characters. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So once you get redirected to that web page, when I start my timer for all of us in just a minute, you're going to be redirected to this. And so there are so many different types of gods on here. There's Greek gods and Roman gods and a lot of different mythical gods and goddesses. So there's no information on them, just the picture, but if you click on one, there's two things you will see. And you scroll down after you select different ones. So you can read information on their abilities. You'll have to scroll down under this video. What you really want to look at is the text down here. So you look at their abilities and their lore. And their lore really tells more about their story and more aspects about their characteristics, internal and external. So that's also a really good place for you to look when you're looking for somebody that you think identifies with yourself. So once you get to that website, browse those characters, find one that you relate to, and I'm going to give us 5 minutes to do that. I'll see you guys back here in 5 minutes. Go ahead and join us back on the Zoom video. I hope you guys had some time to at least pick somebody you felt like you related to, whether it was a great deal of connections or similarities. Maybe it's differences that you also think that you guys have some of the same differences. But I hope you guys all found at least one character that you've been able to make a connection with. And we're about to move into our first breakout room. So when we are in our breakout room, let me refresh this screen. When we are in our breakout rooms, go ahead and unmute and start your video. And that way you can start communicating and building relationships with everybody here. And while we're in a breakout room, be sure that you guys are explaining how you relate to the character you chose. So for this activity, we're talking about that character we chose. How do we relate to this character and why we chose this character? So we're going to have discussion in our breakout rooms for about 5 minutes. And then we'll come back here and continue moving on. But I'll see you guys back here in 5 minutes. And I hope you guys have a good discussion on your characters. All right, go ahead and join us back on our Zoom screen here. See, most of us have already come back. So I hope you guys were able to share about your character and how you relate to that character. All right, there's a few of you that just popped in, so I'm gonna repeat that. Thank you guys for joining us. A few of us popped in just now. I hope you guys had a chance to share about your character in those breakout rooms. Next, we're going to take this character, and I gave it away earlier, but we are going to add to Padlet, and we are going to answer these 2 questions. In what way did the character we picked, how did that character's attributes help explain why you became a teacher? So I want you guys to dig and find some connections. How does this character you found help explain the part of you or the reason or some kind of characteristic why you became an educator or a teacher? And then I want you to think about how has COVID-19 impacted your teaching and forced you to think and continue to think outside of the box. So we are going to add these onto Padlet. I'm curious to see all of y'all's attributes, so I appreciate you guys participating. The link to Padlet is in the chat there for you. So you're going to click on that link. Where this plus sign is, that's on step number 2 on your slide. If you click on that plus sign, you'll be able to add your comments after you click on the plus sign for each question. So let's go ahead and complete this activity, and I'll see you guys back here in 3 minutes. All right, go ahead and join us back. I've been looking on Padlet, and I really appreciate you guys making these connections. And I really appreciate you guys sharing those over Padlet as well. I know that COVID-19, some of you might not have had a chance to finish that question, So if you guys could actually just give me a thumbs up on the participant icon. So if you go over your Zoom toolbar, you should see a participant icon. And if you click on that, and if you can just give me a thumbs up or a green if you finished those questions. And I just want to see how many of us were able to finish that activity. Okay, well, I'm going to show you guys how to use that yes or the thumbs up button here in one of our next slides. So I hope you guys were able to answer both of those questions. My internet's kind of freezing up over here, so I might not just be seeing everything. But hopefully you guys see that um, the reason why you became a teacher in some way was to make an impact on the future. There's something in all of us as educators that we want to help create a better world, a more positive world, help people thrive in the society we live in. And as we think about that as educators, and we're thinking about computer science and why we became an educator, I want to discuss this quote by Steve Jobs for a moment. So Steve Jobs asked this question, and I would love for all of you to play in this game with me by entering an answer in our chat. So he asked, what is or was the medium of our generation? So when we were in school and when we were growing up, what was our medium? What was our medium of communication? What was our medium of learning? And if you can type that in the chat, I'm curious what y'all's medium was, what you would consider your medium of your generation. Go ahead and type those responses in the chat. So TV, definitely a medium. So when we think about learning and communicating, pen and paper for sure, or a landline telephone, beepers, absolutely. These are all great examples of our medium and the internet as well, right? So when I was growing up, we got dial-up internet when I was older, and that became a new medium of communication. So exactly. Chalkboards, that was another medium. TVs is a great medium that we all use for entertainment, to also get information over the news. But one thing I want us to really notice is that one huge medium for learning and for communicating was writing, right? So I'm just going to read through this quote. So Steve Jobs asked, what was the medium of our generation? And his answer is books, TV, the development of dial-up internet, which we talked about all of those things in the chat. So bravo. We just have a group of geniuses here. And so Steve Jobs says, yes, books, TV, the internet, dial-up internet. And we all knew how to read. So in our medium, we all knew how to read, but we knew something more important, or just as important. Not only could we consume in the medium, so not only could we consume books, not only could we consume TV, and not only could we consume through the internet, but we could be authors of that medium. So we could be authors of books. We could, because we know how to read and write, we can be authors of things like on TV. And then there's a big push for using things like Google Slides and typing. So we'd be able, with dial-up internet, we started to put more things out there at a global level and sharing with others through the internet. So that was our medium, and we were authors of that medium. But the connection I'm also wanting to make is right now with students, we in our society, not with students particular, but we are very consumer driven, and this medium shifted. So the dial-up internet was for us, but between then and now, how much more advanced has technology and the internet and the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, how much more advanced has that gotten? And it's incredibly mind-blowing how much more. But the thing is we aren't always teaching students across the board as a nation, or even across schools in a state. We aren't teaching students how to be authors of their future by giving them computer literacy. So now that technology is our medium, it is the driver of information. It is how we are solving for global climate issues and how we're solving for clean water and justice. Technology is our medium right now. So how are we going to get students to be the authors of their future through technology? And that's really why we are all here today. That's teaching them about computer science, right? And just to go over these quickly, this came from Pew Research, and there's a link to this in the links you'll get after we conclude here. But even this was taken, I believe, in 2015. So even 5 years ago, there were 85% of Americans that believe the knowledge of computers, understanding of computer technology is so very important to success in today's economy. And then the number two biggest important thing that a ton of Americans agree on, 85%, say this is extremely important or very important, that we are able to work with people from many different backgrounds. So when you think about this and you think about why you've become a teacher, how are we going to ensure we are giving students the skills they need to be successful in the future, where they have choices and opportunities, not where they ever feel like, I've never heard about computer science before or coding, and I don't just want to sit in front of a computer for my whole life. That sounds boring. And so there's this huge misconception about computer science, right? And this is another article that talks about girls don't know enough about careers in computing. So this is why we are all here, is because we want to bridge this diversity gap, and we all want to provide for a better future. So when we're here together today, I want you guys to think about how can we keep interest in computer science active in our students. I do 100% believe computer science and AI and technology are going to solve for our problems, and our students need to be those inventors, those innovators, right? So how do we keep their interest in that in the education system? Girls we see lose interest as they grow older in STEM and CS, especially if they're not exposed to it from grade level to grade level. They lose so much interest in it, and then they have a lack of awareness. So how do we keep their interest? What other groups of students are traditionally underrepresented in computing and tech fields? This is something we talk about all the time, but if you think that the average salary for a computing related career is over $100,000, our students are missing out on so much opportunity here, right? And not just for themselves, but for our community and our society, right? Making the world better. So that's just why we are here. And now let's think, how can we engage our students in learning CS? Let's think about the students that are traditionally underrepresented in NCS and CS careers. How are we going to engage them? How are we going to engage girls? How are we going to engage all of our students, no matter their background or where they live or how much money their family has? How are we going to engage all students? Let's take a look at a couple of quick clips about different students at the high school, middle school, and elementary school, and what they're doing in computer science and how they're engaged in computer science.
Hi, my name is Drakshan, and I am a level 3 computer science student. I just completed my final year project, which was a game I developed for children undergoing anesthesia before surgery. The reason I chose this project was so it could help children in the real world who are about to undergo surgery and ease their anxiety during the process.
Hi, my name's Ahmed. My friends and I are going to be teaching you some computer science skills, which is what we do every single day here at Rios, America's first computer science magnet school. Now let me get started. So, a lot of us here are parents, and what does every parent want their child to do? Graduate from high school, go to college, graduate from college, and move home. Wait, that's not what you wanted? Oh, I know what you want. Now let me start talking about some jobs. The U.S. government's projected that in 2020, there'll be 1.4 million jobs that use computer science. And only 0.4 million students have the skills ready for those jobs. We're gonna have a 1 million job gap. That 1 million job is That 1 million job gap is caused because not enough schools are teaching computer science. In fact, 1 out of 10 high schools in America offer computer science in any sorts of ways. This is why Rios is a good school, because teaching us new computer science skills to prepare us for our future. Now here's Manny and Gaby talking about how computer science is integrated into our daily subject areas.
Hi, I'm going to talk about how academics and computer science is integrated daily. For example, here's a project that a student did on the Westward expansion. And when you click on it, it'll send you to the next page, and you'll be able to see the California Gold Rush, the Louisiana Purchase, the Oregon Trail, and Lewis and Clark. A fourth grader used their computer science skills utilizing Scratch and Science. Now here's Chanel talking about math and debugging.
Math is very important for programming. Here are a few basic examples of how to use math. Who can raise their hand and tell me what 360 divided by 10 equals? 36. That's right, 36. We use this when we want something to spin. It needs to do a 360. Starting in 2nd grade, we use the X and Y coordinates to have
group decided to make a suicide prevention app. The reason we decided to do this is because, especially in this era, a lot of kids have depression and anxiety, which can definitely lead to suicide. So we decided to make a suicide prevention app that has all kind of coping mechanisms. Usually all apps have kind of just a prevention part of it, but we wanted stress relief. We wanted kind of everything and every coping mechanism that was out there to help them. So that's what we did.
Hi, I'm Nadia.
I'm Ria. I'm Emily.
And I'm Maria. And our app is called the Mother and Baby Health Monitor, and it is for mothers who are struggling with either dying or the babies are dying because they don't know the symptoms or causes of that.
Also help you instruct you through pregnancy, and it's good for people, and it's like a helpful thing so that like many people have to read books and stuff, so this is like one information center that you could just open up, and when you forget things you can put it in there, and it's kind of just like a helpful app.
It's also it also includes a calendar which you can log your pregnancy things onto, like events, things that's happened recently, so then it helps you track it.
I am sorry about the little issues I got off of the tab there during that last video. But just to recap those 3 videos, that first one, the high school student developed a game for students for children that are about to go under amnesia. In that second video about elementary school students, we saw different ways CS was just briefly being integrated daily with the westward expansion in social studies and as well in math applications. And then we also saw there at the last one some different CS for Good apps at the middle school level with the suicide prevention as well as the mother and baby app. So I want you guys to take just a few seconds and enter your response in Mentimeter, which will be posted in the chat. Enter your response to this question. Looking at these quick clips, what is engaging students in computer science? So just in any one word phrases you have, enter those in there in Mentimeter, which is in the chat. What engages students? What engages students? What engages students in computer science? Okay, once you finish entering a couple of phrases, you guys can jump back to our Zoom screen. I'll give us a couple more seconds. I think that's actually everybody in our group. So go ahead and jump back from Mentimeter over to the Zoom screen. And it's so cool. You can see right here, like the most frequent thing all of you entered was helping. So what is engaging students? Helping. And I can't agree with you guys anymore on that topic. That authentic contribution to your community, to other people, that engages all of types of students, all of us. It doesn't matter if you're a girl, if you're a boy, it really doesn't matter who you are. That just speaks to us internally for many of us. Some other ideas we have on here, gamification engages students, collaboration, that's a really good one, influence, apps, fun activities, something that's useful to their own lives. So very real world, again, that authentic choice, that authentic experience, that authentic problem, hands-on learning, experiential learning, that's something we're about to talk about here as well. Real world problems and relatable. These are excellent examples of what's engaging for students. So now we're going to look at different ways, especially in a virtual environment, we can be engaging. And I'm going to show us some of these examples, and I'm going to give you guys time to look over these examples too. So the first thing, I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes, and I'm going to show you these resources. One of them is a choice board. This one is geared towards elementary school, but could you do this for middle or high school students? Absolutely. Could you do this for a club? A computer science club? Absolutely, you could do this for a computer science club as well. So when you guys have that time to explore these resources, this choice board is a loops choice board. So everything on here is a loops theme for students. So students are practicing with loops, they're creating projects with loops, and they get to pick activities. So there's instructions here to pick activities. There's different types of activities with loops, coding activities, unplugged activities, and these unplugged activities have even been transferred to a virtual format. So with COVID, many of us are virtual. So the unplugged activities, if we have those supplies at home, maybe it's like some pennies or paper or a cup students are using, those unplugged activities would be great for students. Some unplugged activities, students might not have all those materials. So what we've done here is shown you examples how you can do an unplugged activity, which is technically plugged when it's in a virtual environment. But there's unplugged activities on here for students, a couple of projects and reflections. So that's one great way to get your students engaged, by giving them choices, letting them pick between a variety of things and a variety of products of knowledge, of ways to show their learning, is one great way to engage your students. And this choice board was just done through Google Sites. This next page is an example of another type of, and this is actually, let me look at this just for 1 second. This is really a choice board, even though it's numbered 1 through 5. When I created this activity, this was created for secondary students, and this is using the code.org HTML web design unit for middle school. And so this walks students through those first lessons, introducing students to web design. However, I created these in a way that they didn't have to be piggybacked off of one another. So if you're really a code.org user, you would go through these in a sequence. And I kind of pulled those out of that sequence so students can work through these different choices and then get that same knowledge. So they can still have that choice in doing it in any way that they want to get this background knowledge about web design, but it's still very engaging. And you can also do a choice board like this for students that's on Google Slides versus on a Google website. But this one is actually walking students through web design. So that first one is practicing loops. They're practicing a computer science skill, right? There's a variety of ways they can practice that for those students. In this choice board, we're looking at teaching a specific skill. So how would you break that up to teach a very specific skill, whether that's web design or variables or binary or anything that you're teaching along those computer science standards for computer science teachers that are with us. And then there's a couple of other options. So these interactive classrooms are super engaging. We actually have in September another online session that's free, talking about the best way to create these interactive classrooms. But this one here, I didn't put a whole bunch in here because we don't want to overwhelm students to begin with. So in this interactive classroom, this is another way you can engage your students in interacting with computer science. So here, it's so important that we lay these foundations and review concepts. And if you're a content classroom teacher, what does that look like for you? If you're having students use computer science to show their learning, like a demonstration of learning, a product of knowledge, how are you going to lay those foundational skills before you get to that point where you want them to use CS to demonstrate their learning? So that's always a good thing to think about when you're thinking about engaging students in computer science. They need to have that background knowledge, and it doesn't take years of background knowledge. There's tons of resources designed to help you with that, and code.org is a really great resource. So there's some activities linked in here that are more geared towards introductory, laying foundation, and geared towards student center. So again, giving that choice and making connections for students, things that are relatable to them and very authentic. And then also thinking about how can you take computer science and make something bigger. So in our Mentimeter, we saw helping was huge for students. So there's so many different approaches to computer science and engaging students. And these approaches work for all students. And I would offer these approaches to my classroom so that way I can hit all those different learning styles of students, whether I'm asking my student to have a student-centered activity related to a content area. So if we're doing computer science and they're rewriting a story, or we can do something that's more along the helping, more along that helping and getting that intrinsic motivation and feel like your students are adding value to other people's lives and their community. So that's another way to engage students. We can engage them cross-curricular, but we can also engage them in this problem-based design thinking where they're helping, they're figuring out a problem and how they can help their friends, how they can help their family, their community. So on this slide here, there's different ways you can experience lessons to integrate with your students that are more along the lines of helping them be active and problem solving. And of course, there's other ways we can engage our students. And really, what I want to talk about is this: you can engage your students in your class, but what's more powerful is starting with your class. And if computer science is not something in your school that all teachers are doing, or all the teachers across the district are doing computer science in specials at elementary school, they offer this at middle school, and they have that consecutive pipeline for students. You can look at contests and challenges to help boost up that community around computer science for your school, for your class, and for your district. So ways to do that, reaching your class, and you can even reach outside your class with some of these ideas, but hosting app challenges. You could start out by hosting one in your class and then doing that school district wide. Over on that green notes, you see there's ideas for starting out with your class, moving to school, moving to district. How can you get more educators and students involved in computer science? Coding activities, Hour of Code. CS Ed Week is a great week to promote participation and really get engagement from other educators and students in computer science. All of this really helps close that diversity gap. I mean, we only can do what's in our circle of control. Start with your class. How else can you be a CS champion and advocate for CS throughout your school or your district? Clubs are another way to do that. Again, you're going to see this green sticky note over here. Look, start with your class. Then can you make this a school-wide thing? Can a couple of you teachers get together? Is this something that could be a school event where there's a showcase that we celebrate together at school once a year? Could this be a district level thing over the next 2 to 3 years, right? We start out small, but how can we increase engagement in computer science? And to do that, we need more community. We need more people knowing what computer science is and knowing all the different possibilities of computer science. It's not just coding and programming, but creating technology. So that's another way that you can engage students. Engage them through your classroom lessons, engage them through contests and challenges, and engaging them through clubs. So over the next 5 minutes, we are going to explore those slides. So I talked about what those slides are. There's a link in the chat that says PDF template. So if you guys click on that link, this is what it'll bring you to. It's going to bring you to those slides. I just went over the choice board. the secondary choice board here, the interactive classrooms, the challenges and the clubs, and there's links and resources in all of these documents. So I want you guys to spend 5 minutes and browse through these templates. These are really just templates that you guys can use, but browse through these templates. Think about how you could make something like this work for your classroom and what that would look like. I'll see you guys back here in 5 minutes. All right, I know 5 minutes is a short time, but I hope you guys were able to get just a quick preview about some of those different resources and some ideas on how you could create something or utilize something like this for your class, for your school, or for your district. So we're gonna move into breakout rooms and we're gonna discuss, when you were exploring those resources, what struck you as engaging? So we've talked about what's engaging for students. We've heard about what's engaging for students. When you looked at these resources, what was engaging about these lessons and resources? Discuss this for 3 minutes and then we'll see you guys back here in 3 minutes. All right, thank you guys for joining us back. Let me get that video paused right there. So we've looked at those engaging activities. We've heard from students about what is engaging for them and what interests them with computer science. And we looked at some of those resources and different ways we can engage our students over a virtual environment. So I want us to spend about, and I need to refresh this slide here because I've changed this to about 5 minutes versus 7. When we go into our breakout rooms, Cassie, if we can have 4 breakout rooms, I think that would work best. Let me know if that's going to be a problem. But we're going to move into breakout rooms, and when you're in a breakout room, you see on this slide each breakout room 1, 2, 3, or 4 has a couple of articles, or breakout room 2 just has 1 article to look at. But over the next 5 minutes for your breakout room, you're going to look at your articles that are related to your room, and you're going to add some notes to our highlights document. I'm sorry, my mouse is extra sensitive today. So Cassie's going to post a link in our chat for this notes document down here, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is our notes document. Cassie's going to post a link in the chat for this. But what you're going to do with this notes document is all of the links for those articles and your articles that are for your room are in this document. So you can use it while you're in your breakout room and have access to this information. So we just did the exploring resources right here on the PDF. But down here where we're talking about the make the real world easy. So we're thinking, how can we make real world applications easy? How can we make helping easy for students? And for us as educators, how can we embed this easily that it connects with our students without having to do a ton of digging and a ton of research? So over here, there are links to all of the articles. So room 1, you'll be doing culturally responsive and culturally relevant. So over 5 minutes, you're gonna review these articles and you're gonna add the highlights to room 1's section on the article notes. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. But again, there's notes here so you know what article your room is gonna be. And then just find that room down here, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and add highlights about what strategies, what are the mindsets, what are some activities, what is the benefit of this approach or this strategy to teaching. So let's do this article review, spend 5 minutes, open that notes doc that's in the chat, and I will see you guys back here in 5 minutes. All right, thank you for joining us back. Did you guys, I see some of you on Zoom, were you about not quite finished in filling out your notes? Did we have 4 groups? Was there a group 4 in our breakout sessions? Just give me like a thumbs up or not, but I did notice the group 4 didn't get to their articles and their notes quite yet. I do appreciate you guys taking time to look at that, but over the next 2 minutes, let's just review some of the notes that our peers added to this document. So in the breakout room, you had a specific topic you were looking at. Over the next 2 minutes, look at the other topics your group members added on there. If there's a couple of things you need to finish those up super quickly, but take a look at your everybody's here's notes on that topic. And do you see any similarities and differences across these different strategies and teaching approaches? So let's take 2 minutes to think about different similarities and differences that we see across these approaches. And do that individually, or actually we can do that in a breakout room. Let's do that in another breakout room for 2 minutes, looking at those similarities and differences. I'll see you guys back here in just 2 minutes. All right, thank you for joining us back on our Zoom video. So one thing, I know some of you didn't have time to finish like overviewing. 5 minutes definitely is not even enough time to fully comprehend each one of these articles. I think there's some short ones in there, but it's really just time to skim over and pull out some initial pieces of information that are jumping out to you. I do recommend that you guys spend some time afterwards, 5 minutes, and look at any piece of information that you're missing. If you didn't get to an article, if you didn't get to examine those similarities and differences, spend 5 minutes after we hop off here at 5:30 and look at those similarities and differences. What I want to point out to you all is, and I hope you all see this too, these different teaching approaches, whether we're doing experiential learning, teaching tolerant, culturally responsive, multicultural education, these are all ways that organically are going to provide these learning environments for your students where they are put into this role where they can be helpful, where they can innovate and problem solve. And doing it in this sort of way is really important for our society and for our future, as well as combining that with computer science, because there's all of these things within our own societies that we can make better. We can make so many things better, whether that has to do with businesses or with voting or with policy or whatever that is, but it's going to take technology to make that better. We're not going to turn the wheel back and go back in time where we don't use technology to advance our civilization, right? So blending these real world experiences with tech is a really great recipe to engage your students. And in thinking about that, this is just another example you guys saw in the PDF, but looking at those deeper problem-solving projects and problems for students in computer science. So there's a variety of ways to engage your students, whether you're going to engage them with content area, authentic student choices, whether we're going to engage them with these deep global problems, with helping, with feeling a sense of value because they're contributing to their school, to their friends, to their communities. And that's what this website is looking at right here. And some of you might have experienced that in that 5 minutes we got to explore. But what I want to show you guys, or what I want us to do next, not what I want to show you, but what I want us to do next is think about an upcoming skill, standard, lesson, or concept that you guys are going to teach. Maybe it's 6 weeks from now, so that way you have enough time to plan. But think about something you know is coming up, or maybe it's something your students tend to struggle with year after year. This one concept, my students really struggle with it. So let's think about standard, skill, lesson, or upcoming concept, something that you're about to do. And how can you make this lesson more engaging with computer science? And I want you guys to create a plan, create a lesson, create the materials. If you like the interactive slides, create that. If you use Seesaw, Google Classroom, go ahead and create those ideas. And you guys are going to need to refer back to this resource document, the notes document where you guys were seeing the links for all of the articles that you were just in. So if you go right down under the article notes, which everybody was just adding notes there and reviewing notes, there's a create section with the slide that you just saw on my screen. So there's a link right here for group ideas. This is where you can upload your ideas at the end of this next 15 minutes. And there's also a lesson planning template. So if you just want to jot down some notes about what you think you can do, that topic that's coming up, what students need to know, how you're going to get this done, you can use this lesson planning note document here as well. And I'm just going to copy and paste our notes document in the chat again. I'm not sure if you guys have it open. But use this notes document to access the group planning sheet. Again, it's down here under the create and the lesson planning template. So use those resources, whether you maybe want to start a club, you want to start a contest, you want to start a challenge, or some of these other activities that we looked at. So we're actually just going to take 10 minutes to do this since we only have 15 left. So let's spend 10 minutes to plan, implement and plan, and I will see you guys back here in 10 minutes. Okay, go ahead and join us back to the Zoom screen. I love seeing all of the comments in the chat, and I'm really glad you guys have engaged in discussing lessons and sharing with each other. There's so much power to sharing. And with that being said, as we are wrapping up, I want to just point you all to the group ideas doc and make sure that you guys are sharing your ideas in that group ideas doc. Whoops, I just dragged that in the wrong spot. But 10 minutes is not enough time to get a full-fledged idea out. 20 minutes is not enough time to link everything you need to and really think about where you're fitting this in, where you're laying down those foundational skills. But the ideas are worth sharing, so please just make sure you add your ideas to this document, and I will just put this doc in the chat again. But please make sure you add your ideas to this document. Even if we teach older students, we can often modify that for younger elementary and intermediate students and vice versa. I know I always enjoy looking at a variety of grade level ideas because I like to modify if it's a project or idea worth investigating for my students as well. So please be sure that you guys add your ideas to this document. I'm going to give us 1 minute to add ideas to this document here. And the link is in the chat for this document. Thank you guys for taking time to add in your information to this document. If you haven't finished doing that, please do that so everybody here can come back to this and see these resources, see these ideas so they can get ideas for their classroom and their students and their age group. So please be sure you just link that up. We are winding up right to 5:30 for our 90 minutes here. I will do a question and answer at the end, but first I want to explain the evaluation. And if anybody has questions and answers, we can stick on for an extra 5 minutes. So the evaluation link is in the chat. If you just select Jackie and you fill that evaluation out, then you will get a certificate for attending the spotlight. So please fill that evaluation out and do your attendance as well before you guys head out. That's the last task that I have for you guys. That evaluation is just super important for us. So really take the time to do that for me. I really appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions and answers, I'll stick around until about 5:35 and see if anybody has questions and answers, or if you guys want to share and talk with each other, we can do that for the next 5 minutes. But if you don't want to have any more discussion, do that survey, you can head out of here. And thank you for joining us here today. I'll stick around for about 5 minutes for those of you that want to continue to share and have some more questions and discussions. And you do have to complete the attendance form at the end of the survey to get that certificate. So if I click on the survey link, oh, my picture is not on here. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe my picture is not on here. So go to other and just type my name in. I'm sorry, that just happened like in the last week. So you can just type other and type in Jackie there. And once you submit the survey, filling out all these questions, there is an attendance link. So be sure you take attendance, and that just prompts right after you submit your survey. Thank you, Angela, and thank you guys. And again, I'm just repeating this, but you're more than free to go. I'm going to stay in case anybody has questions and answers. For anybody that has any questions or answers, go ahead and unmute, and you can ask those right now if you would like. I know there were some great discussions and conversations. So if you have questions for somebody else that's in our meeting, you have more than enough, well, not more than enough time, but you're free to ask them a question. Thank you, Keith. Thank you all for attending today, and good luck as we all are heading into this school year. I know it's uneasy, it's exciting, but I do appreciate all this sacrifices we're making to deliver education and a sense of normalcy for our kiddos out there.